I'm delighted to introduce the poet Yennefer Maizo ChoXaXem-Vang, who some of us know as Gaoyong Yang-Vang, as Yen's chair. Very delighted to introduce you tonight. So in her 2020 book, Minor Feelings, the poet Kathy Park Hong writes an extensive essay about the avant-garde artist and writer Teresa Halkyung Cha. In teaching Cha's experimental opus, Dictee, Hong instructs students to, quote, approach the book as if they're learning a new language, unquote. Every once in a while, we encounter a poet like Cha who breaks syntax and reconstructs sound in an attempt to manifest the sparkling and generative disorder that's at the heart of human experience, human communication. The poet Yennefer Maizo ChoXaXem-Vang is beautifully in sync with this lineage. To read her book, Diaspora Desperado, which is the last working title I had, is to encounter a new language, one that blisters, breaks, shines, and mends as the speakers confront abandonment, starvation, survival, and rebirth. The journey of this book left me breathless. The opening poems of Diaspora Desperado reckon with a mother wound. They dance with abandonment's howl before wading into emptiness, then expanding into a mythical eco-poetics rooted in the personas of tigress, sorceress, and wildfire. At the center of the book, we encounter Triptych, a stunning three-part visual erasure poem that reckons with losing a father-in-law who has become father to the speaker, while touching on what it means to make oneself vulnerable to love and its losses. Quote, together we unweed, says the speaker. My nature thorns their hands, but dad and mom just smile kindly. Let those drops of their soul fall to nourish me, unquote. Themes of exile and home finding that play out in intimate, filial ways also reverberate in the larger sociocultural backdrop that infuses this book with layers of meaning. In Yennefer's poetic cosmos, daughter is a verb, sister is a verb, diaspora is a verb. Language is muscled to fit the lightning force of feminine power and ghostly hauntings that propel these poems towards a kind of reclamation. Quote, time orphans us all, unquote, writes the speaker. And yet, in abandonment, there's a freedom to choose, a freedom to inhabit a new self, a new family, a new name, a different way of being alive in the world, the queenly way, the way of the unstarved sorceress and fire-evered daughter. Yennefer, congratulations on all of your accomplishments in the MFA program. I'm thrilled for this book and excited to celebrate you tonight. Please join me in welcoming Yennefer Maizo ChoXaXem-Vang.
Thank you. Brynn, that was a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much for your kind words. And I hope I can follow up and live up to expectations. First and foremost, I would like to thank my thesis committee members, Rajar and Bowen. Next, I would like to thank the MFA department's faculty and staff that has made my experience possible. Without you, creative minds like mine have no outlet to exercise art. I'd like to thank my cohort and all the upper and lower classmen who were here before and after me for all their input and feedback. Especially that of Andre Yang and Yili, who set us on this path, and Wally, who humbles me by showing me that the path continues in ways I can't even begin to imagine. I also want to give big thanks to the Hmong American writing community, such as Hawk and High. I would like to give a big shout out to Juan Felipe Herrera and his Laureate Lab. And I also cannot exclude Dr. Connie Hales and Dr. John Hales, I've been knowing them since the fall of 2016. And so it's been wonderful to know them through my undergrad and graduate years. I want to say thanks to Connie, especially because Connie was trying really hard to recruit me into the MFA program, constantly asking, "Hey, have you thought of joining? Have you thought of joining?" every single time. And so I feel like that was part of the reason why I got into the MFA program. And I cannot forget to acknowledge and appreciate my thesis chair, Professor Brynn Saito, who I have been utterly lost without and crying alone in a room as opposed to crying in her office hour. Brynn, your leadership that you gave in my personal crisis has planted within me hope as I look at organizations like the Yonsei Memory Project. 62 Hmong American generations away from now to realize that we will survive. Last but not least, the two most important people I would like to thank are my husband, Tony, and my mother-in-law, and the mother I never had, named Hal, for their continuous support and love. Of the two, I'll openly admit that my mother-in-law is the better poet and would be schooling us in the art of Hmong poetics. I also want to say that she gives out great Hmong roast that Tony and I have labeled poetic roast. All right, so I'm going to be reading quite a handful of poems. I'm actually going to be reading some of the poems that Professor Saito mentioned, actually. So let's start with the first one. This one is called Yennefer. In another life, opposite an ocean, I would still be alone. Soaring from ashes to ashes, ashen feathers, seeking respite. In another life, sorceressing and locked tower, keep of enlightenment, and in other life, I am still starved, caterpilling scraps and shadows to silk exotic for 1,000 baht. Eyes painted, conquered malt, I can finally dream. Finally, epiphany. The second poem is called Wayward to Reclamation. Don't monolith me, say Pobia and expect me to crocodile tears and longing. Pobia isn't my mountain. My bloodlines from tree branches from Pupati, 25 miles west of Samna, capital of Huampad province. Pupati, where in 1968 the Battle of Lima Site 85 was pitched. Pobia isn't all we are. I legacy Hmong Samna. Give me Pupati's bloodstained peak. Give me back whatever remains of 1968 can be salvaged, that I may piece loved ones' lost souls onward. Don't refugee me, puppet the secret war out of my Asian mouth, an American my exotic with ribbons and awards. Obviously there is pain, suffering, loss, that the 2-hour Western documented yellow people's special narrative. Now hear me, we escape, we reunion, we saga. When we left, dragons and tigresses, gibbons and snails, banana tree leaves and blades of grass, all that was magic and majestic, refugeed with us. Or died alongside our footsteps. Mark this, refugee, that when I am dead, the garden of canopies will spirit me. 3 days and 3 nights, with 33 works of fame, 33 breaths of song, 33 choruses of drums. And when I myth away, runes on souls, lilacs on breeze, ink on pages, pity me not, for I have daughtered, nieced, sistered, cousined, auntied, mothered, wiped in my odyssey of triumph, besting terror of love worth losing. Don't orphan me, sightsee amusedly of spectacle at my expense. Poor baby, my chipped shoulder, because that's someone's idea of broken. Allow me to remind to antiquity to oral culture. I am she who archetypes, she who prototyped, of power and moral, Hmong and American, every hero arises out of orphan. American orphans are superpowered into heroics. Hmong orphans are myth and legend into heroics. I am Iron Maiden and the Spider Bride, the raven-haired sorceress and the white snake, bitter song and lilac comb. Perhaps I am broken, but it would be as a character in a cherished game, a timeless story would have ruined. So go ahead and laugh at how I do not know how to silver spoon. I know well enough how to silver bullet. Don't tigers me, tourist into my domain, to coin, to foreigner, to cage, to savagery. All my double speak into tiger mom display. I'd die, matriarching in my wilds, then captive right into bygone age fossil, across mountains, museums, and ocean, and a continent away from the nourished tongues and traditions. Guess through my garden, accept tiger eye sight, and I will allow witnessing. Subtly arted becomes stratagem, patience arted becomes camouflage. Heart-spoken arted becomes soul-spelled. Pursuit arted becomes longing. Stories arted become heirlooms. Graciously silvering, I leave song tigress. Pristine compositions continue thriving in a world determined to give me 10% success. So these next two poems are actually interconnected. So they both start off the same and end the same. So this first one is called Mononoke, based off of the movie by Studio Ghibli. Open quote, live your, end quote. What? Strife and pestilence, ill star and black sun, ruin and exodus? I am what they, humans, made me. I have hands and feet, heart and breath. They're spitting image and image they spit on. They raised me, savaged me, exiled me, othered me, deviled me. There's nothing I have not been called. Hurt me best you can, human. Tell me, what am I? Quote, beautiful. Quote. What pain is this that escapes his lips? The one following that is Pieces of Spirits. Quote, live your, end quote. What? Lifespan and not of nature, embodied and not manifested, mortal and not divine blooded. I am what my mother made me. I have hands and feet, not paws and leaf song stripes. I am not my mother's spitting image, yet she shares with me her heart and breath. She warded me, warriored me, elevated me, mythed me, tigressed me. In this home, I feel belonging, even if I am still fresh enough to be crowned among this. Hurt me best you can, human. I am loved despite my nature. Quote, beautiful, end quote. What pain is this that escapes his lips? So, following that poem is the poem I Choose and I Am. These two are also interconnected, and in the actual manuscript, it actually looks very cool. But here it's just a reading version, so here's what we are left. I am tired of defeating, of forcing, All power winds to the head, roots me bloodshot aggressive, my skin bitters. Side effects of lifetime, overexposure to masculinity, toxin, and radiation. Ice on eternal, and night becomes myth and unbelievable, and forgotten desires. Too much light blinds and reveals too much. Yet I am remembered in after images. Shine and rise, shine and rise, shine and rise. Ever always rise. One dimensional, the ever rising sun formulas through ceilings, ozones, light years, and becomes both at once pretty spectacle and warmthless light, perverted from its original nature as harbinger of living. I have lost myself, and with dark imbued eyes, my soul's shadow soothsay that what echolocates back is a reflection not made in my image. Tell me, soul shadow, how? How do I make myself in my image? I am tired of vessling to power and empowerment, to lightning and enlightening, to muse and amusement. I want to set, not rise. I want to peacekeeper, not warrior. I want to fall. I want to be beyond archetype. I learned to survive is to attack. No one taught me language of stones and leaves, how to home as sorceress, to fortress, to hospitality. Secrets of planting gardens and walls and action nourishing these timeless elements. Soul shadow, she who remembers, denied, bitter river, will you unveil to me how to age again? Silent, silent, silent. Silence, silence, silence is her response. She cries herself, tears herself into a bowl, becomes black water. What does this mean? You also abandoned me, my third. You would make me mad, but what if I would not? I see now. Madness becomes magic when maged with me, with meaning. Black water on fingertip becomes ink. I am what I choose. So this is you choose. I choose to let go, to not monarch, but instead butterfly. What wonder! How delicate wings hold on. Hold enough strength to ripple monsoons, moonlight, snow, auroras. So this is it, soul shadow. How to femininity power, to kinetic force into energy. Opening my hands, I can no longer bottle lightning, only river lightning. I can't remember the last time I vulnerabilized myself. Can a fist natured shut from birth still feel? Yes, yes I can. I choose this energy, this moment, rivering teardrops. Rain and tears both drop, but the tear feels different. Tears burden, the mother who birthed me out from her rib secrets. Quote, a tear fallen to unrighteousness boulders upon its instigator's soul and is carried unto their next life. The sky has eyes, daughter-in-law. The sky has eyes, and the sun flames on me. Yet I can't help but wipe your burdens. Mom, don't worry. Watching you, I figured out what you had not yet secret. How the tears boulders, and one river, how the boulder beneath us. A burden I choose to carry ceases to be burden at all. We heirloom, we archive. I witnessed your son presenting a 6-hole pedal flute to you. He says, quote, so that if I go first, you'll know I was not a tree. End quote. A story my witnessing. This is it, isn't it, so shadow? How to ink black water, how to mage myself in my iron age. Not with roars and shouts and screams, but with whispers and secrets and laughter. I choose this, the silence of this gentle valley's view, on a February ever frosting on my intergenerational roof. How sweet it sounds, 70 years pitter-pattering at 3 different tempos. I hear it now, how heartbeats symphony. I am sorry, my rage, but it is time I river you to melt you down to diary. I choose who I am. So up next is the triptych by Professor Saito. It's the first of the 3 triptychs, or of the triptychs, not 3 of the 3 triptychs, just one of the 3. Triptych, outlaw for the first time. I become daughter-in-law, living a dream where for once I have a real father who doesn't abandon me even before I am born, and a real mother who doesn't suffocate me when I die. Somewhere along the way, the formality titles, quote, Tony's dad, end quote, and Tony's mom, end quote, and Tony's girlfriend, Tony's friend, God. The possession redacted from them. They simply became dad and ma, and I became, daughter-in-law. We 3 committed this sin against culture because their son and I were not married in the eyes of culture. I limbo within daughter, who is not in-law and not of blood. So what am I? I am loved because love has to be when dad and mom raised their temple of tradition, the sacred, the beliefs upheld all their lives to cultivate room, to accept me, to sustain me, we that I am. I tumble uselessly, purposely, but dad and mom are of the old way. Dad and mom could weave a string of yarn into a talisman. Together we unweed me, root me. My natural thorns, their hands. But dad and mom, to smile, kindly let those drops of their soul fall to nourish me. Dad and mom fertilize me with their own wisdoms. Mom gossips and sings and translates and idioms and poetries and memories and ancestors. And dad, well, he dads imperfectly. And in doing so, internally hopes and redemptions. I eventually late bloom and being born that I am. I really only know 2 things that I choose to daughter myself to. This dad and this mom, not of blood who bled for me. And that dad and mom love me, their daughter out. So the next one is triptych, daughter-in-law, post-dad. I was a daughter outlaw, now half awake from a once upon dream, where I had a real father who half orphans me, because his narrative ended in a real mother who suffocates with me as we cry. Somewhere along the way, dad and mom normalized my seat at the once overfilled family table, and now the half-emptied seats pledged full nights of 4 whenever my husband and I visited. Now our table is forever read. Tell me, does a three-chambered heart become fulfilled if it still imagines, still feel phantom blood pulse in its limboed quarter? I must have loved because love has to be where I can recall happiness and weep, then laugh as I taste memories, and how my heart heavies with care I can now never give away. Queen of the jungle that I've become, I shadow after mom and the leaf of my heart while we mourn and farewells and despair and live and recollect and fall and hurts. I pick up our pieces, even though these shards of the soul thorns me. Death by a thousand griefs, but I would rather love now than forever after. Half circle that I diaspora, I really only know two things, that I choose to daughter myself to this dad and this mom, not of blood and bleed forward. And this is your daughter outlaw, dad, and I want you to know, if sky and earth, Gaoyong and your show would let me daughter all over again, I would only heavier. This is the last part of the triptych, daughter outlaw, afterwards again. Once upon a time, dreams, dreams, and dreams away. I was a daughter outlaw who had a real father who didn't abandon me even before I was born, and a real mother who didn't suffocate me when I. But time orphans us all. In my fate, orphanhood just chanced to my insight twice. In halves, both. Somewhere along the way, I daughtered until I no longer felt imposter, only to true heartache after dad and after mom. Now in the afterwards, the first generation family table is forever two. I will tell you, a heart born, torn with only two chambers, doesn't feel empty because it wasn't aware it's missing a human spirit. A heart nurtured, torn into two chambers, can only feel empty because it's aware of its missing human spirit. My human heart, once born and now nurtured, must have loved because love has to be where dad and mom's spirit onto the back of my neck, and there is no pain, only wisdom. My fist-sized heart has learned how to open, how to deluge its heavies of care through lost incantations and rites learned from mom. Matriarch of the garden that I've become. I no longer fit under the jungle's shadows. I face death by a thousand rays, but it is necessary to shadow for my people and poetry who have no grandparents. So I mom, I gossip, and sing, and translate, and idiom, and poetry, and memory, and ancestor. And their dad, the leaf of my heart, well, he does almost imperfectly. Sorry. Well, he does almost perfectly with his explanation and education and hopes and redemptions. Full circle that I diaspored. I really only know three things. That this is your daughter. Dad, I want you to know if sky and earth, dying and your show, to let me outlaw all over again, I would leave your heart. That this is your daughter outlaw. Mom, and I want you to know if sky and earth, fame and your show to let me daughter all over again, I would outpour your aches, and that in this lifetime I choose to daughter myself to this dad and this mom, not of blood who I breathe for. That poem is actually the I would say kind of a special poem to me because it's almost a year since my father-in-law passed, and it was also at a meeting that well, it was the day after the reading in which his health really deteriorated, and so we were given like 2 weeks at most when he came back from the hospital. But those 2 weeks just became one day. One day, so June. So these next 5 poems are white poems. I'm not gonna read like every poem title. I'm just gonna go through them and go to them. Reread in his car, nurturing his unwhole finger. Destruction reigns, render my hands unable. Severe thorns wound. My words fail to wipe away loneliness. I cannot mend his unbreathing glass heart. Time does not wait for me. Knotting our tongues, fingers spiderwebbing, brewing words with thread compositions, attaching signals to nerves, imbuing love's pace. Our devotions twinkle, expressions constellating, what is kept to ourselves. Without our rings, let's become one. Share this burden together. Let us lie here, silently breathing. Keep me with your arms. Feel my heart flutters. You whisper love-struck madness when you think I am asleep. I listen to you impale me with images, your secret confessions, my love. Your worries become my lullaby. I am not keen on loving you harder. I have done that enough. It took me our love span to give loving you softer. Strum instead of tug, flow instead of blood, breeze instead of windswept, whisper instead of declaration, blossom instead of rainforest. I cannot love until the stars dust. That's too far. Just love me now, enough to let me unpetrify your Alexander heart. Mortal with me, yes, it is cold, deep in my heart. But surely you must feel my pulsing warmth on you. With this embrace, I obsidian forth from previous lifetime, smoldering trauma wreck. Tonight, to igneous away, scars and afflictions, shatter, shatter, upward toward daybreak, post eruption. Scared to lose you, I tell you, quote, don't ask for a last good day. I cannot give you that. We gray hair, together our hands wrinkle and embrace, falling in together the eternity.